this is Brendon O'Connell, the bell tower boy, in Tehran, the head of the funeral procession for former President Mr. Rafsanjani. Just remember, for the elites, the privileged elites of the West, United Kingdom, Australia, Europe and America. Oh, you want to know where I'm going before I do the Iran analysis, as I've been there, even if it was for 3 months. I was working with government analysts, the Persian Gulf Study Center, Mr. Pasapor, my closet gay lawyer from Atlanta, Georgia, Hamayun T. Lashkari, whose sister Ziba Lashkari in Hansar, Iran, the home of the foreign minister. They were friends of the foreign minister. She was traveling backwards and forwards to the Swiss banks. Well, we're going to discuss all of that as I walk down past Los Arcos in beautiful Queretaro, Mexico. It's a beautiful day, hermoso dia. The pollution's gone. It's a fantastic day, and I'm going to eat apple pie. And we're going to explain a lot of things to you. So stay tuned. The great former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the real revolutionary, the real authentic one, who's been banned from running for office for the last 5 times since 2012, when they deliberately crashed the economy, called him Jewish. I mean, when they're calling you Jewish, then you know you've really upset them. But he, as he said, that the Mossad is all through Iran. That's the real revolutionary.
5 US dollars.
Let's head up to the church and have a chat about Iran after that delicious apple pie.
And I make a prediction, here's a prediction for you, that Iran is not going down. Iran will be eased into a new transition. They can't do it fast. They need someone who's going to appeal to hardliners and the IRGC. Hola, entender amigos. Bienvenidos to Queretaro, Mexico. Iran. Hey, it's Brendon O'Connell, the bell tower boy, reporting from Tehran, Iran. The date today is, just let me do the date, it's the 10th of January 2017, a Tuesday. We were just down the road a little ways for the funeral procession of the former president of Iran, Mr. Rafsanjani. And while I was there, my colleague and my host and supporter, who I thank profusely from the bottom of my heart for all his assistance, mentioned that there was, of course, Rachel Corrie Street. Well, we can't really begin talking about Iran until we talk about good old Rouhani, former President Rouhani and Zarif, the foreign minister. As you know, I studied in Iran for 3 months. They were going to give me a job with Iran Press TV doing a travel show. Of all things, I was there to say, let's rock, let's get conferences going, let's talk about Israel and high technology and subversion of America. You can't beat Israel by force of arms. Let's talk information technology.
They did it. I have had long conversations over the past 2 weeks with contacts at the Army War College, at Headquarters Marine Corps, and I've made it absolutely clear in both cases that it is 100% certain that 9/11 was a Mossad operation.
I knew that the Israelis would be involved because they had people like Michael Chertoff, who should have been indicted because he had double citizenship here and in Israel, and was in charge of Homeland Security along with Richard Pearl and others whose loyalty have never been to the United States. Unfortunately, these American Jews whose loyalty is to Israel have never served the American government, never been in the American military, but I'm more than happy to serve the Israeli military.
And what Americans need to understand, they did it. They did it. And if they do understand that, Israel's going to disappear. Israel will flat ass disappear from this earth. You know, I have a dream, as Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you know, and my dream is that the 5th and 6th U.S. fleets take Israel and cream it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's Brendon O'Connell, the bell tower boy. Live from Tehran. Well, not really live, but you know what I mean. It makes it sound more exciting. The date is the 23rd of January 2017. It's a Monday. I just want to make a small announcement. We're going to organise a conference in Tehran. That conference is going to be about Israeli intelligence activity, my subject, my favourite subject, in particular the infiltration of the world's high technology sector by Israel. The fact that Israel has become a, quote, technology juggernaut. That's a quote, technology juggernaut. Well, it's the Bell Tab Boy live from fucking Iran, which I'm just about to leave. Here's why. I'll do this quick. The time is 13:50 hours. It's Wednesday, the 25th of January, 2017. You're going to be going, Brendon, you're leaving Iran? What the fucking hell is going on? Well, let me tell you what's going on. David fucking Lashkari, tosser extraordinaire, the lawyer who's supposedly handling my political asylum application. I don't know what drugs he's on. I don't know whether he's mentally ill. He's the Vegas, just off the fucking planet, doing his own thing. I've had to fight tooth and fucking nail just to fucking try and put a video out on my subject, which is Jewish racial and religious supremacism as the foundation for the Israeli state, you know, sucking little baby boys' penises, all the stuff the Orthodox rabbis do. Yes, if you don't know about that, it will come as a shock to you. They're completely demented. Orthodox Judaism, Hasidic, you know, kill all the goy. Goys have no soul. Goy are animals. Non-Jews should be killed. All the Babylonian Talmud, the Shulchan Aruch, the Zohar, books of the Zohar, Jewish mysticism, all that stuff. That's my core issue, plus Israeli intelligence activity. Israel did 9/11 and how they dominate the world of databases. Those are my twin pillars. And I've had to fight tooth and fucking nail to talk about them. Tooth and nail, particularly the Jewish supremacism one. All I get from people here is, oh, well, we can't upset our Jews. What are these things called Jews? Protected panda bears? I'm serious. They're like, oh, we have to be careful. I don't have to be fucking careful. Are they Orthodox? Fuck them. I care about 300,000 dead Syrians. I care about 2 million dead Iraqis. I care about 70,000 dead Afghanis. I care about Africa and its continuing, ongoing Holocaust every year that goes on in Africa, which everyone's just become totally used to. I have to fight tooth and nail. We've got to do tourist fucking videos. What do they want me to do? Advertise as a tourist fucking brewer? Up in the snowfields? Great. Down on the street, Rachel Corrie Street. All good. As I've screamed and yelled at David Lashkari, or Hamayun Lashkari. This is not my fucking issue. I want to talk about this issue. Israeli intelligence activity, blah, blah, blah. Finally, after weeks of him trying to manipulate me and guide me away and go down this path, and it'll always end with, oh, well, Brendon, you do what you want to do. He's a fucking sleazebag fucking lawyer. Just fucking makes my blood boil. I've nearly smashed him in the head. We were down at the passport office. I've nearly smashed him in the head. I was getting a 3-month extension. And we walked out and I said, don't you fucking ever spread that fucking bullshit at me again. Don't you giggle and don't you fucking laugh when I fucking tell you what a fucking fruitcake you are. And there's a long story to that, why I went off for the 10th time. And I said, you fucking giggle one more time and I'll smash your fucking head in on the street in Iran. The guy is a loon. He's doing my head in. He just goes, no need to get upset. Fucking hell. I don't even know where to begin. I'm just trying to calm down. Anyway, I had to get the fuck out of here. I said, give me $1,000 fucking dollars, US, and I'm fucking out of here. I got my passport back and said, fuck Iran, fuck your fucking visa, and fuck your political asylum. So it's got to be pretty bad. It's got to be pretty bad. This has been weeks of this. Being shoved from pillar to post. I finally had to insist on staying in Tehran. I want to attend a Farsi language course. I can't get anything done. And this guy won't leave. He's supposed to be going back to the US 3 times. He keeps staying, keeps driving me insane until I've had enough. He was meant to go last night. And he goes, oh, I'm going to stay a bit longer. How fortunate. I thought, oh, fucking great. Oh, no. Anyway, have a look while I'm passing up. This is a modern apartment. Northern suburbs. Taj Rish is that way. You can see the delicious pollution. Ski fields are over there. It's a modern apartment. He gave me this, would you believe? Wouldn't give it to me. This is a really powerful video editing laptop. He says, I'm not using it, you can use it. No problems. He gave me this phone, a $1,000 Edge S7. I said, wow, that 4K video is amazing. He said, you can have it. I'm throwing it all away, I don't want it. You know, everything's Sony, everything's brand new. This is HEPA filter. This is a nice apartment. I'd have that room when he goes. Just so you know, that's what I'm fucking passing. I can't stand it any fucking longer. I'm going to head back to Malaysia. God willing, I can have a word with an official there. Already, within 4 days, I was chatting to someone from military intelligence. Oh, sorry, they had a next door neighbour who was military intelligence. Anyway, Forget about any fucking conferences here on Israeli intelligence activity. I was talking to Dr. Alan Sabrowski on Facebook. When the clowns, there's no one who even speaks fucking English. Fuck! I said, does anyone at the Persian Gulf Study Centre speak English? No. Then how the fuck am I supposed to organise this? What is wrong with Iran? Why is it in Pakistan? You can go walk down the street in Pakistan and there are books in English. Israel did 9/11. Everybody fucking knows. Everyone screams about it. They know all about Jewish machinations. Here, they're not even fucking interested. I can't get a single fucking Iranian to talk about it. They go, oh, yeah. Oh, what they do to the Palestinians is bad. And all they want to talk about is their beautiful culture. And I had to say, look, David, no offense, I don't want to talk about Iranian culture, and I don't want to be a tourist bureau for you and do tourist ads. I don't mind doing videos in conjunction with Israeli intelligence activity, and I had to keep pushing this. And he would, anyway, just cut out then. Hit the battery, so I put it in its stand. So let me make sure it's on. So, you know, if I have to fight every day to get this done. Anyway, finally, after Muchos fucking screaming and yelling, saying, I don't know what Iran's up to, but you had a stupid Holocaust conference under President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who I love and respect and admire. The barefoots of South Tehran, the Shahids, the martyrs who shed their blood, so the fucking sports car buying rats of fucking northern suburbs, Jewish, can buy their fucking luxury European cars. That's another story. No shortage of anything in Iran, I can tell you that right now.
And of course they were not interested. Not interested. They want to rag on Saudi Arabia and the Arabs all day, complain about the BBC calling the Persian Gulf the Arabian Gulf, and generally whine like little bitches. I'm sorry. I love Mr. Parsapur and the Persian Gulf Studies Centre. They were government analysts and I was to work with them, great people. The gay lawyer, the closet gay lawyer, was an absolute ratbag, drug addict and weirdo, Hamayun T. Lashkari, David Lashkari. His sister Ziba Lashkari, her son is in Swiss banking. They owned a gigantic apartment block in North Tehran, near the Tadris markets, near the big, where the big tower is. These people, okay, are deep in bed with Switzerland, Germany and France. Now, let's get a bit of history of Iran so you understand. The great former president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the real revolutionary, the real authentic one who's been banned from running for office for the last 5 times since 2012 when they deliberately crashed the economy, called him Jewish. I mean, when they're calling you Jewish, then you know you've really upset them. But he, as he said, that the Mossad is all through Iran. That's the real revolutionary. And I make a prediction, here's a prediction for you, that Iran is not going down. Iran will be eased into a new transition. They can't do it fast. The current mob there of the president and so on are what you would call moderates. He's a heart surgeon, so he'd be trained in Oxford. They'll be complete rats for the City of London, Rothschild, just like Rouhani and Zarif. But here's the rub. They need someone who's going to appeal to hardliners and the IRGC, who will have to be killed off in large numbers to protect the more moderate government. They do not want Iran in tatters. They want Iran intact, and they want America to be popular. So what they want to do is get Iran away from Europe. Now, Germany is revered in Iran. You're not going to hear this unless you've been there. They worship Germany. They worship Angela Merkel. They also worship Adolf Hitler. Yes, they do. They do not believe Adolf Hitler killed a single Jew. There were some unfortunate things. So it's not like Iranians worship the slaughter of Jews. On the contrary, the place is full of Jews. They're all in Iran Press TV. They run it. Just remember, Iran Press TV has Israeli satellites. And when I complained, why aren't we talking about Talmud? Why aren't we talking about all these? Why do they just rag on Islam all day? And Muslims never hit back at the top levels, talking about all the filth of the Talmud, Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, Mishnah, Gemara, all the rabbinic commentaries. Why do you never hit back? And he came back the next day and said, he said, look, Iran Press TV will not push it or talk about it. And I said, why? And David T. Lashkari, the drugged up gay closet lawyer, said, because when they did do it, they lost their satellite for 2 years. And I said, what do you mean they lost their satellite? He said, it's an Israeli satellite. And I just went, what? And he said, well, probably all Israeli. That's a quote. They use Israeli satellites. The whole place is run by Israel. Okay, the nuclear program is not to threaten Israel. I'll tell you who the nuclear program, it's run by Israel, run through cutouts like South Africa and even Pakistan. And there's the old Israeli networks, the old Likud, the old Russian Israeli networks, City of London networks. Okay, you know who the nuclear weapons program is to threaten? It's to threaten Saudi Arabia. You don't know the animosity between the Saudi, the Arabs, the Sunnis, and Shia Islam within Iran. You don't know anything about it, so you don't get it. I never got it till I went there and realized that Iranians or Persians hate Arabs more than they hate Jews. And all I heard was, love Israel, love to trade with Israel, love the Shah, bring back the Shah. And that's all I heard all day and all night. And I went, well, this isn't exactly the brochure I was expecting. And I even asked about meeting former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and they could see him going, oh, well, yeah, I hear it. Oh, yeah, he does accept visitors, yeah. And I just, man, they do not want me meeting Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. That is why the real deal has been banned, but he's the perfect replacement. He's got the respect of the hardliners, but he's also a reformer. I was told that General Soleimani slapped him in the face below the pyramid, you know, the building with the 33 windows, their pyramid parliament building. It's pure masonry there. Masonry is everywhere throughout Iran. I mean, it is everywhere, a bit like Mexico, actually, and the US, and everywhere else in central London and the city of London. And because Ahmadinejad said, listen, we need to back off people's bedrooms, get out of their bedrooms, we have to look at hijabs.
Well, as you can hear, I'm in Tehran, and you can hear the oppressive music of the Ayatollahs and the Imams playing. I just stopped. It's really oppressive music. It's very trendy. Tehran is a very trendy place. As you can hear and see behind me, the women are looking incredibly oppressed.
We've got a demographic of 16 to 35-year-olds that are really agitating and they really want things to change. So we have to fucking do something about it. We cannot ignore this demographic. So with this in mind, Soleimani slapped him in the face. See, Ahmadinejad is not a fool. He's a civil engineer. He understands calculus, he understands mathematics, and he understands demographics. They have to reform. He's the perfect man for it. He's a realist, he gets it, but he's also strong, but he understands power. He's a Scorpio, he understands power. Just look at him here wishing everyone a Merry Christmas.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm excited to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, is the messenger of love, forgiveness, and peace.
Now, all the filthy clown show morons, all the reformers, they're always wearing their little turbans and shaking a fist. They are the whores, the absolute whores of Babylon. They're all closet homosexual, bisexual, pedophiles. They're all off to Switzerland for their Swiss bank accounts. Switzerland, I mean, think of it this way. The Ayatollah came out of a Paris commune. Ayatollah Khomeini did not come out of the Najaf desert. He ran from the Najaf desert. He ran for safety in Paris. Well, we just talked about the Synarchist movement, didn't we? All right, in Paris, he came from that French commune, a literal commune just outside Swingen, Paris, France, in the late 70s. And he's accompanied by a German intelligence film crew on a Lufthansa flight, lands in Tehran. Hello, there's a bit of a clue.
He said that even if he were, he expected either to be assassinated or to lead his country. But at 10 minutes to 10, Khomeini was being helped down the steps of his chartered Air France jet to set foot on Iranian ground for the first time in 15 years. His first moments were uncomfortable ones. He became increasingly nervous. Khomeini's name was the rallying cry that brought down the Shah.
You think the Jewish lobby in the United States is too powerful for the interests of Israel?
I think so. Sometimes they are disserving the interests of Israel because they're pushing around too many people.
How do you mean pushing around?
Well, pressuring. They have many means at their disposal. They are putting up pressure on many, many people. And at the end, I don't think that it will even help Israel.
Why, if this is true, why would the President of the United States pay attention to that lobby?
They are strong.
Strong in what sense?
They are controlling many things.
Controlling what?
Newspapers, medias,
Your Majesty.
banks, finances, and I'm going to stop there.
They're kept alive by euros, not US dollars, and they're in love with Germany and France. because you understand the network. It's all Rothschild. Rouhani, former president, 6 years in Scotland. For God's sake, how many times have I repeated this about Rouhani being 6 years in Scotland studying Sharia law at a Scottish university of all places? You know the Jews of Scotland. You should really look it up. Scottish Rite Masonry. He's up there in his little turban with his little beard. All right, the guy's as religious as my big toe. Literally.
Now, the British government has turned down an invitation to attend the inauguration of the new Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, despite indications he wants to reach out to Western countries to reduce tensions, not least over Iran's nuclear programme. Mr Rouhani has strong links with Britain. He was a student in Glasgow. From there, our World Affairs correspondent Richard Galpin reports.
Glasgow, not an obvious place for an Iranian cleric and senior politician to study. But in the 1990s, Hassan Rouhani came to Glasgow Caledonian University as a postgraduate student researching Islamic law. Known then as Hassan Feridun, he received his doctorate in 1999.
Hassan Feridun for a thesis entitled The Flexibility of Sharia, Islamic Law with Reference to the Iranian Experience.
He'd done most of his research in Iran while Deputy Speaker of Parliament, but travelled regularly here to the university to discuss his thesis. Well, this is the thesis which Mr Rouhani wrote, and the senior academics who supervised him say it does show he has a modern and reformist approach, which of course is very different from the hardline religious leadership which have dominated Iran for so long.
He's best friends with Jack Straw and Lord Levi. One step away from Lord Jacob Rothschild himself, and Whitney Webb was never going to tell you that, ever. And I mean ever. Let's get real. Zarif has a dual national US Iranian citizen. You think I'm joking? He has a green card. His kids were born in the United States and are US citizens. That's right. Zarif, the foreign minister, you better watch out, America. His kids are US citizens. I don't know how much more bullshit you can stand, but you've worked out Hamas are hanging out in five-star hotels in Qatar next to the largest British and American airbase in the region. You've worked out it's all funded by the same people. Hezbollah's the biggest fraud ever. What? They just killed 3 leaders like that. Boom, 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 and they're all dead. How? How does Israel do that? Because they fucking run them all. That's why. The whole Islamic terror network is being torn down under orders. Now Trump is bringing down the old globalist narco-traffickers, all the Marano Jews that are down there. And unfortunately, he seems to be doing a deal with Chabad Lubavitch, who's running messages backwards and forwards to Europe, backwards and forwards to Russia and Putin, because they want Putin to remain in power and to do some dirty deals, i.e. rebuild Russia so that they threaten the Europeans nicely. Because this is the game. Keep them separate, Russia separate, China separate, and break it all up. You remember the Ayatollah talking about the multipolar world order, right?
علائم زیادی وجود داره که نظم کنونی جهان داره تغییر پیدا میکنه. اولش عبارت است از انزوای آمریکا. در نظم جدید جهانی آمریکا منزوی خواهد بود. برخلاف اونی که 20 سال پیش بوش پدر گفت امروز تنها قدرت مسلط دنیا آمریکاست. خط اساسی دوم انتقال قدرت سیاسی و اقتصادی و فرهنگی و علمی حتی از غرب به آسیا. آسیا خواهد شد مرکز دانش، مرکز اقتصاد، مرکز قدرت سیاسی، مرکز قدرت نظامی.
And then Klaus Schwab talking about the multipolar world order, right?
Excellencies, distinguished participants of this very important meeting. Of course, is the transition into a multipolar world which has a tendency to make our world much more fragmented.
And then Vladimir Putin talking about the multipolar world order, right?
Мы солидарно работаем над формированием более справедливого и демократического многополярного мироустройства, которое должно опираться на центральную роль Организации Объединенных Наций.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets.
Mr. President, we are keen to hear from your perspective and from that of Russia, how you see the situation developing in the third decade of the 21st century, and what should be done to ensure that people everywhere find peace and prosperity. Mr. President, the world is waiting to hear from you.
Спасибо. Уважаемый господин Шваб, уважаемый господин Шваб.
Mr. Schwab, dear colleagues, dear Klaus, I've visited Davos many times, assisting meetings starting from the 90s. Mr. Schwab just mentioned that we met each other first back in 1992.
And Vladimir Putin is a literal student of Heinz Kissinger and Yevgeny Primakov. And if you watch this brilliant video by Good Times, Bad Times, called the Primakov Doctrine, you will understand where all of this came from, the old Soviet-era KGB, which is really City of London. And you see Gerhard Schroeder, all right, the head of freaking Gazprom, best gay buddies with Vladimir Putin, yeah, or his body double, we're not sure. BBC even talks about it now, casually, about his body doubles. Watch the Devil's Double, about the Iraqi Saddam's double and his mad son. Is it the Devil's Double? Great movie. Watch it.
Latif is the best we could find, and we looked.
Do you know who this is?
Of course.
No. It is not Saddam. My father cannot be everywhere at once. I want you to come and work for me.
Work for you?
I want you to be my double. My brother. We could be twins, no? You are asking me to extinguish myself. You do understand, Latif. It is quite simple.
Please be clear about this, Latif. Uday has chosen you. You belong to him.
God is great. He gave me 2 sons. Now I have 3.
You will have whatever you want.
Versace, Armani, Rolex.
Everything I own will belong to you.
You don't own me.
Shall I kill him?
Kill your father's greatest friend.
Maybe I'll let you kill him for me.
No. If I am going to kill somebody, I want to know why I'm going to do it.
No! No!
So with these things in mind, you see all this multipolar world order talk, Xi Jinping multipolar, Xi Jinping at the World Economic Forum 2017, threatening Trump, saying, don't worry about Trump, we will rescue the globalist agenda. And they are all friends with Klaus Schwab, including the Russian nationalist and globalist Vladimir Putin, who kisses little boys' tummies and has been friends with Klaus Schwab, a student of Kissinger, for 30 freaking years. So I'm just curious how long this bullshit has to go on and how long Ryan Dawson and Colonel McGregor and the rest of the fools are going to keep spinning new bullshit about the whole thing. So you let me know when you've finished and you've had enough of the bullshit. Have you had enough of the bullshit yet? It's right there in plain view. Kissinger's there talking about the transfer of power from the Atlantic, that's America, to China and the Pacific.
China's Belt and Road Initiative, in seeking to connect China to Central Asia and eventually to Europe, will have the practical significance of shifting the world's center of gravity from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and will involve the cultures of Eurasia, each of whom will have to decide what relationship to this vision they will seek, and so will the United States. This is why many of us urged the United States to join the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank when it was proposed by China.
Oh my God!
This makes Israel very powerful.
That's in South Korea 2017. Interesting year, isn't it? Do you have any idea how bullshit Iran is? The people are absolutely pro-Western, they're pro-European. So the US elites have to tread carefully. They don't want it to fracture and break down completely. We don't know how many are dead. The low estimate is 2,000, the high estimate is 12,000, probably 12,000. You're not getting past the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Badasses, man, you do not want to go toe-to-toe with those people, and they won't, ever. What they will do is the perfect man is Ahmadinejad. He's got the respect of the hardliners, but he's also a reformer. They want the reform to take place over time, and they want Iran pro-America, not pro-Europe, pro-America, because Germany and France and that Synarchist movement has got its claws right into Iran. That's why. What do you think kept Iran alive all these years? They were euros, they weren't US dollars. I was just sitting there in the Foreign Office reading their paper, their English language paper. They were putting nearly $500 million a week in oil to Germany every week. Remember when all the sanctions were on? And there's Germany buying $500 million worth of oil a week. I mean, would you like me to spell it out for you? And you think, but why haven't I heard about this? Well, I don't know. Maybe all your whores online are a bunch of fakes. Maybe that. How about that? Worked it out yet? Okay. I'm by one of my favorite churches out here. And Mexico, through all its faults, is still beautiful, particularly central Mexico. You go 300 kilometers north of Mexico City and you're in, 200 kilometers and you're in Queretaro, Mexico. And I really love it here. Buenas tardes. So, Queretaro, if you want to go and meet Italian cafes and Mexican cafes and cafes from all over the world, come to Queretaro, Mexico, where the French, heavily French Synarchist movement in Queretaro. Masonic symbolism is everywhere, of course, amongst the churches. Maybe they're all Catholic Masons here, like good old Candace Owens.
To those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me, okay? And I want you guys to say, this is not a threat, this is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages, I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it, okay? Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're gonna slide into his chair, okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged. I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA.
Remember the history of Christos Rey, Christ is King, history of Masonry and the fighting between that Synarchist movement to get the Americans, the Anglo establishment out. Now we see the Monroe Doctrine reinvigorated. And you see the attacks on Trump administration officials, which is really the DOD. You see the attacks, vigorous attacks, because he's cleaning out their little system. That doesn't make Donald Trump and his little friends Chabad nice people. Clearly, there are no white hats here. There are no white hats. They're all grey hats down to black hats. Right now, the black hats are being ejected. Maduro, Venezuela, and he's shipping 40 billion euros worth of coke through Rotterdam and Antwerp for the slush fund of the European bankers. Now, guess who has control of that? You getting it? I'm watching the attacks on Trump by little Candace and Tucker. They're all going to Qatar, which is the home of the old BBC, Al Jazeera, and MI6. How interesting.
And you must start to take on the MI5, MI6 deep state. Should not be lost on people in England. Or if it is, you've got to get up the learning curve. Your deep state teaches, we're like junior partners. I mean, it's like World War II. The OSS, we had a bunch of cowboys running around. They've always looked at, British intelligence has always looked at U.S. intelligence as a little bit of schoolboys that need to be learned up. You guys have a much deeper problem than we do.
Why do you say, by the way, just out of curiosity, why do you say MI6 and MI5? Because, I mean, isn't this thing across all government departments?
It is, but I think it also, the intelligence services are the ones that I think always drive a lot of the action.
Why? What evidence have you got for that?
They've got all the evidence of Crossfire Hurricane. Just look at the details of Crossfire Hurricane. They were very open in working with working with the Hillary Clinton team and others and Comey and all these people in trying to set up the Trump campaign back in the spring and summer of 2016. They're very active. And we kind of cover this under the Five Eyes and all these intelligence agreements. Look, I'm pro-ally and pro-alliance. What I don't want is a merger and kind of a combination of the deep state that essentially controls things, controls information. But you're right. You've actually got the other thing that should be, let's go back when we talk about administrative state, deep state. We have a government, and this number is not put out correctly. We have a government, a federal government in the United States, I think is about 2.25 million people. We have a military, all but is about 2.5 million. And I think if you take all the numbers out, it's around 4.5 or 5 million of that. But we have another 18 million contractors. Those contractors, half of them are the guys doing IT, but half of them are just because we can't get permanent billers to put them on the government payroll, are paid full, the equivalent of SES. I mean, so you have essentially 10 to 12 million bureaucrats or functionaries in the administrative state that controls a budget of $7 trillion a year in the United States. $7 trillion, $2 trillion deficit every year.
The home of the City of London over there, where all the terrorists were hanging out in five-star hotels. How interesting. Let's move on to another part of town. Well, hola, amigos. Well, it's the next day. It's the 17th of January, and I have arrived home. Okay, let's do an update on Iran as of the 17th of January 2026. As you know, the rumors about the Ayatollah Khamenei is making his way to Russia, or at least has a plan to head to Moscow. While entirely possible, I doubt it at the moment. They're claiming his son has run to Qatar. Again, I doubt it. I think the whole thing is going to survive for now. And what they're going to do is this. They are going to do a very slow change. God willing, they will bring in former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who has a very popular following, even amongst a younger demographic. As I said previously to you in the first half of the video, he is well known for stating the 16 to 35-year-old demographic, particularly the males, if we do not do something and change our system, we are in big demographic trouble. You've got a lot of testosterone and a lot of males who need to find work. The Iranian people do not want freedom. It's nothing to do with freedom. They want security and a job and a big screen TV, and they'd also like to travel freely. That's it. Americans don't want freedom. Australians don't want freedom. Let me tell you, freedom is freaking scary. It's a very rare thing. That's why I'd like to see America made into a place where real freedom lovers want to go, really want to go, as opposed to this lie that people keep saying they want to be free, but they sure as hell, post-COVID, don't seem to be want to doing anything about it, except meme online. So number one, Iranians don't want freedom, they want a job, they want hope, they have a huge demographic. All right, they're tired of being pariahs. I was there for 3 months, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. They are desperate. I got off the plane the second time in Iran because the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. The Iranians are notorious for corruption. They're sick of the corruption and the nepotism, the embezzling of money, a bunch of frauds running backwards and forwards to Europe. Off comes the turban, they're partying. The women are all devout at Iran Press TV. Then they're caught without their veils on when they get overseas. The whole thing's a circus show. All right, Iran is beautiful. And when it is what we term free, or what we could call Western free, the freedom to shop, the freedom to have sex in toilets, high on cocaine in the latest nightclubs, that's the freedom they really want. They want to party openly. Right now, you can party hard in Iran. I never got a chance to go to their underground nightclubs or their sex parties or their drugs are everywhere. Black tar heroin, absolutely the best black tar, pot, marijuana, hashish, and methamphetamine and cocaine is everywhere in Iran, and it's cheap as chips. And the government has a policy, do whatever you want, just do it in private, don't embarrass us. They have a huge alcohol problem. I get off the damn plane. It took me 3 hours to get through the visa. Very polite, wonderful people. I met, everyone there was excellent. Official staff, Colonel Hosseini, Passport Border Control. And I get in the car. There was a guy in the back with a woman in the back and another guy driving, and he pulls out a bottle of Stolichny vodka, the best vodka, pours it into a big plastic cup to the brim and screams, "No freedom!" Now I'm shivering because I just came from 35 degrees Celsius, 90% humidity, Kuala Lumpur. I'm now in -2, and this is a West Australian boy, and he's not quite used to it. And I've just got a t-shirt with my another shirt over the top, and I'm holding this cup, and I'm in the car at Imam Khomeini Airport going, is this a test? Is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard about to come out and arrest me? And I sat there, and he's got a cup, and they're going, cheers, and I went, okay, this is for international relations, and I drank that whole cup of vodka on the way to Homayun David T. Lashkari, the lawyer's first sister's house. The first sister was a high school teacher. Very interesting lady. And then, of course, I went and stayed with Homayun T. Lashkari's other sister, Ziba Lashkari, whose son is in Swiss banking. Yeah, of course. She's backwards and forwards. She said to me over and over, don't hate the Jews. I said, well, I don't hate Jews. There's a problem. But don't hate the Jews. And I just remember thinking, yeah, 70,000 Jews from Isfahan. Whatever. So they don't really want freedom. They want a job. They want hope. They want prospects. And of course, what was the key? They were going to be integrated into the what? The multipolar world order, and things were going to improve. But once the US said no, and that game is all over, the inevitable decline and the backlash, which is in Iran, which is in China, which is in Russia, that's what the Ukraine war is about. We are seeing this decline now. Now the ramifications of the crumbling of the Kissinger and Associates, Rothschild, City of London, German, France, Swiss, Rothschild, multipolar world order. This is the breakdown. Will it break down though? No, I doubt that very much. I believe they're going to throw a few bombs around, shake a few fists. Here's the problem. It's not just about the Ayatollah Khomeini running with his son or a few elites. Most of them are corrupt pieces of garbage, literally garbage. They are disorganized, they all hate each other, the place is falling apart, and they're all full of crap. They're all shaking a fist. The only option really is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He has the support of the cliche hardliners, but he's also very reform-minded. He's very smart. He's very sincere. Even though he does his little tiger claw hand signals outside the 33-windowed pyramid parliament, but he knows, he understands power. He understands power. Typical Scorpio. You know, it came out in Colin Powell's Gmail. They all use Gmail for good reason. In the WikiLeaks, that he was talking to someone else on his Gmail saying, look, the boys, talking Ahmadinejad and the boys, that's Colin Powell, retired General Colin Powell, they know the score. And apparently Ahmadinejad said to him, well, if we stick a nuclear weapon on a ballistic missile, what are we going to do with it? Polish it? That's apparently what he said to General Powell. He said, we know what you're going to do to us if we use a nuke. So that's the realism of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He is the logical choice to take over and slowly reform. Because it's not just a matter of Ayatollah Khomeini running to Moscow or running to Qatar, which is not going to happen. I mean, it's not impossible he might run to Moscow, but I doubt that very much. You've got 250,000 hardcore Iranian Republican Guard. These people do not F around. The Iranian Republican Guard are proven in combat. I think to become a member, you must have proven yourself and been in combat. These are serious people. And I just don't think they have a place to run either or where to go. They're commanders. What happens? These are the people in charge of the economy. It's logical. They keep saying over and over, and I'm very pleased to hear on Fox News saying over and over, we are not going to do another Iraq, you know, Paul Bremer, 2IC, Kissinger and Associates style, and then sack all the Ba'ath Party. In other words, we're not going to sack all the hardliners and the place will fall apart and it'll be in chaos. And then Iranians really will hate us. And German and France elites and Swiss elites, the Rothschilds will be waiting to capture the market. The Americans must capture Iran and put it under the direct sphere of influence of the United States. That's what has to happen. Just remember the fraud of it all. Rouhani and Zarif are classics. Zarif went from Iran to the US as a 17-year-old. And from 17 till he was 47 years old, he lived in the United States. His 2 children were born in the United States and are US citizens. Don't tell me for a minute he would not have flown his wife back to Iran to have them born in Iran. Obviously. Obviously. So here we go. It's Qatar, Hamas, 5-star hotels, right next door to the largest US-UK airbase in the region, in Riyadh. Sorry, not Riyadh, in outside. Would it be just a little too much, don't you think, if he was to run there, all the way there, next to the largest US-UK war airbase? I think that would be a bit too much now. I think people are working up a little too much. Would he run to Moscow? Maybe, but I don't see it. I think it's much better that they stay there in power, shut their mouths and accept this new unipolar American Pax Americana. That is the ideal relationship. And John Kerry, I'm sure Senator John Kerry, who was like this with Zarif, or were they ever, it will most likely be a very, so getting back to the most likely scenario. Former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, again, appeals to the hardline stance. He's been a reformer for a long time. They keep pushing him as a hardliner. They wanted him out because he was actually attacking all the right spots in the day, all the right spots. I didn't realize the complexity of the politics in Iran. It is not what you think. It is not unipolar at all. They fight like cats and dogs you would not believe. Fight like cats and dogs. It's a very interesting place. It was a privilege to be there. God willing, Jalil, I would love to get back there if President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Remember, it was then President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, 2012, was still president when Mark Glenn gave him my letter from jail when I was on a hunger strike, and he said, yes, Brendon, we will welcome your asylum with open arms. That's a quote. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, to me personally, while in jail, while on a hunger strike. That's why I went to Iran. We were initially meant to go when I got out of jail, 2014. I was meant to share a room with drugged up now Ken O'Keefe, me and Mark Glenn, Ken O'Keefe and one other. And suddenly, Iran, this was some very interesting things were going on at that stage. There were clearly machinations. The foreign minister, Julie Bishop, from Western Australia, best friends with Netanyahu, was going over there. There was a lot of machinations. That's why Fred Smith contacted me, Colonel James McMahon, Minister Joe Francis, Tony Abbott, all the Jesuits of Australia. And, I've got General Millie's Jag, Colonel Andrew Kernan's sister in my bed. So if you're wondering why these things happen, this is why. So at that stage in 2014, suddenly they said to Mark Glenn, a Lebanese Catholic living in Idaho, a good guy at that stage with the Ugly Truth podcast. He'd done that great interview that you saw previously with then Colonel Alan Sabrowski, sorry, my brain, saying Israel did 9/11, as you saw in that extract I did earlier in the video. I was speaking to Mark. We were having a lot of trouble communicating. They were pulling cables out of the Telstra exchange. The internet was being cut off. They broke in. They took my passport out of my bag. Oh, on and on and on. K. Grigg stuff. And it got to the point where I finally talked to Mark Glenn and he said, it's off. And I said, what's going on? He said, they've accused me of being a spy. And Mark Glenn was devastated. He said, after all I've done, personal letters from Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. And he said, this is just typical of the bullshit in Iran. Left wing, the left hand, the right hand, they have no idea what's going on. But really what was going on was they were forming the multipolar world order, getting ready for Trump to come in with Kissinger. They were getting ready for this movement. That's why they had me there. And then it was like, oh, come and do a travel show. Don't worry about that Israel stuff. You begin to see the unfolding. And when I contacted Colonel Alan Sabrowski from the US Army War College, retired, he said, yeah, they're very flaky. He's talking about Iran. I said, they're so confusing. They mess me around. He said, yes, quote, they are very flaky. Because they're so infiltrated, that's why. So God willing, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad will be back. They're talking about strikes. I don't know. I don't know how many are dead, anywhere from 2,000 to 12,000. I believe probably more like around 2,000. Look, I know this sounds hard to believe. The Iranians are actually pretty civilized. Put it this way, for the police or the security services to raid your house, it's regarded as a big deal, a really big deal to go into someone's house. Did you know all the people that left when the Ayatollah came in 1979? Did you know all their properties are still in their names and all their properties are sitting there untouched? And the lawyer told me, I'm giving you some real gold here, Lashkari, David T. Lashkari, Atlanta, Georgia, He told me that one of the jobs he was going to have was he was going to find all the properties and invite back, this is under Rouhani and Zarif and the multipolar world order, invite back all the ones in Europe, Germany, and all the ones in the US to come back and claim their properties. He said their property. We went up to a couple and they're all untouched. So it's a very interesting place, Iran. I'd rather be in an Iranian jail. I'm not saying they couldn't be mean and nasty. There's mean, nasty animal people everywhere. But I'd put the US under the same pressure as Iran, and I'd say there'd be 10,000 dead pretty quick, wouldn't you? Pretty quick. So let's get things in perspective. The bottom line, the US must maintain pressure and maintain, above all, influence over Iran. It has to be done slowly and carefully. It's got a highly educated demographic. They're hungry for work. They are hungry, hungry, hungry. You have to keep them out of the hands of Rothschild, German, France, and Swiss Rothschild, and preferably take out the German, Swiss, French Rothschilds. They can't do it because they're too filthy. They've got their little court Jews, their little Hufjuden, Chabad running around helping them out. We'll talk more about that later. But right now, the US must maintain its sphere of influence, and in 2017, it was all positive news. All the articles coming out of the equivalent of the New York Times in Australia, it's called The Australian, a very prestigious newspaper, and it was all pro-Iran. Iran is amazing. Iran is incredible. The New York Times was organizing tours to Tehran, which is stunning. And I mean, when it is freed up, the tourism there is going to be crazy. You should see the jealousy that's going to come out of Israel and Likud and Bibi. The jealousy is going to be so much. You are going to see them make so much money just out of freaking tourism. Man, you go down to the bakeries there, you got to taste the bread. I don't know what the hell they put in that flatbread, and it's like a mash, and the guy will pick it up. It's all earth and wood stuff. It's in the middle of Tehran, they're everywhere, and he throws it in that thing, and then it goes onto a big piece of wire mesh, and the person chops it up and puts it in their bag. You got to taste that bread. I told the lawyer, tell this guy if he was in like Subiaco, which is a posh part of Perth, Western Australia, or some posh part, I said you would make a fortune out of that bread, just the way they cook it. This place is going to boom, but the US has to tread very carefully to keep it under its sphere of influence. The logical choice is only one choice, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. That is the only choice. You're going to keep the hardliners happy, and he's reform-minded. That's why Ayatollah refused to let him run, because he has been so critical and said outright Israel was in there, because Israel has been in there from day dot, running itself through Germany, down into Germany and Switzerland, down into, via the banking system, down into Iran. That whole show. As Kissinger went, they killed good King Faisal, who was calling for God's sake, you know, King Faisal is writing, telling Rockefeller, all right, you've got a bunch of Russian commies taking over the area. What are you doing? He's dead, 1975. The Shah gets mouthy. The Shah of Iran starts talking big time. 79, he's gone. So you got the Wahhabist lunatics, you got a more moderate King Faisal, highly respected everywhere. You get the Wahhabi hypocrite, you know, I could probably live under Wahhabist law. I'm 55, I barely drink. And I mean, I love peace and quiet. I was never an 18-year-old idiot, that's a lie. I was an 18-year-old idiot with my XC Falcon, Holly double pumpers, V8 351. Yes, I was an idiot, but I don't like idiots anymore. I'm old and I'm boring. I'd fit right into Sharia law, not a problem. But it's not the point. It's the damn corruption of these people and the hypocrisy I cannot stand. As they steal from their people, they're all doing hookers, high-class hookers at the Ritz-Carlton in France, doing their cocaine and their parties, and they're full of shit. All of them. So you're going to have to not just free Iran, you're going to free the Saudis, who would like to be normal. All of these people would like to be normal, or at least get a more moderate and a more honest political system happening there. And it needs to happen soon. And the US maintain its heavy influence in the region. In summing up, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the collapse of the multipolar world order. No matter what Marco Rubio says, there is no multipolar world order. There is just Pax Americana, worldwide, todo, mundo. That's what's coming. No mas. Have you heard them all saying no mas? Scott Bennett just came on Fox News yesterday and said there is no accountability in the Fed. Just print up whatever they like. Amazing. We'll talk about that separately. So the rhetoric is starting to improve. And if you start demanding it, you'll start getting it. You start demanding, you earn over 5 million, retire all your tax lawyer games, never realizing profits, always hiding your shit in the Cayman Islands. Pay your tax. You earn over 5 million a year, you're on 44%, and we want 44%. Everybody. But God willing, if I was wealthy too, I'd want the responsible distribution of my taxpayer funds to responsible things. So you've got to clean out all the bullshit, all the rip-offs, all the rorts. And that includes the rorts to Lockheed and all the rorts to the high-tech sector. Get them working for a living, or you know what? As again, the Trump administration did well. They said, well, if we're giving you a taxpayer break, Intel, you know what? We're going to get to own you. All of that technology from DARPA, the US Department of Energy, flowing on into the military-industrial complex, that is all US taxpayer-funded tech, which they also stole off everyone as well, but that's another story. Pay up all these giant private corporations, State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, and they all flow back to the damn city of London and the EU castle-dwelling bank of hags. Enough, no mas. That's enough of that garbage now. So the US continues to put its power into the region. They must tread very carefully, obviously, with Iran. God willing, Iran will come heavily under the influence of the United States. And we'll see some very exciting times, and I would love to head up there with Jalil and to go back to Iran and see it at its full potential glory. Pro-America, but America, if you want people to be pro-America, how about you start behaving according to your Bill of Rights and Constitution? I know it can't happen overnight. Why don't you start saying the right rhetoric and be the lighthouse on the hill? And right now, you're still a bit of a putz, a bit of a hypocrite. So before you tell anyone else to clean up their act, how about you clean yours up? And slowly but surely, I am noticing some good things. Let's see if that rhetoric turns into real policy. I'm watching Jerome Powell squirm in his seat. I'm loving every minute of it. Remember, don't end the Fed, take it over. Get it directly under the power of the executive. The executive can go to war. The executive can do this. The executive can do that. The only thing the executive can't do, apparently, is print the money. And if that doesn't sound like a scam to you, I don't know what is. Really. It's time for it to end. God willing, the Iranian people over the next few years, first we'll see the comeback of former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. The president there now is an absolute weakling. He's trained too in Oxford and in Harvard. Oh, of course he has. Of course he has. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is the man. God willing, he'll be there soon. It's an interesting time, but I guarantee you, it'll just be some light World Wrestling Federation slapping. They don't want to create total chaos. So it's a very, very sensitive time. It's going to take some very delicate operations and some very delicate statecraft. We'll see how Marco Rubio does. Only Marco, they don't speak Spanish in Iran. Wonderful country, interesting country, and nothing would please me more than to see the Sunni-Shia split toned right down and the Arab-Iran war, Iraq war, which was vicious, that war. That's where a lot of the animosity comes from. And the martyrs, the Shahid, that was one of the most vicious wars in history. 8 years. 8 years. We talk about Ukraine as this modern day World War I warfare. Well, I put to you, the real World War I warfare was in the deserts of Iraq and Iran. We get peace in the Middle East, get heavy American influence. Let's see where it goes. Messiah comes, Armageddon comes, so be it. But you work for peace. And that's the main thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk again very soon. And I will put up the full video I did of the conference in Tehran, which never was. And you know what? Maybe instead of Alexander Dugin at the next conference and idiots like Dr. Kevin Barrett or multipolar world order hose, who shall not be forgotten, maybe we'll have Brendon O'Connell and Jalil and Mary Silva and Lee Levino and Kevin and a whole range of people. Maybe we'll get to go to a conference, a real conference, and see about good relations with Iran and the Arab world. God bless you. We'll talk soon. Have a great day.